All right, everybody, how's it going? It is Thursday, December 29th, 2022, and of course, we're in week 17 of the NFL, which means we only got 2 weeks left of football. We have this week, we have week 18, and then, of course, the playoffs are set to begin. Of course, always, we have to look at like what teams are in so far, what teams have yet to clinch, how many playoff spots are left. So we have to go over our week 17 NFL playoff scenarios, as we typically have done here, starting at about week 14. We just go over who can clinch, what can happen this week, and just kind of go over the basic scenarios. So if you don't mind, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Leave your thoughts on the playoff stuff down below. It'll help the video out, make it perform a little better. I know it's annoying to see this like right at the beginning of a video, but it does like help other videos perform better. So if you could go ahead and, maybe like as like a holiday gift or something, like a late Christmas gift or a happy New Year's gift, whatever you want to call it. Anyway, let's get on with looking at what's going on in the AFC, which is a little bit less crowded than the NFC. The NFC has a whole lot of nonsense going on. The AFC is pretty well put together, right? You have the Bills, you have the Chiefs, you have the Bengals who have clinched, well, the division hasn't been clinched yet, but you have the Bills, the Chiefs have clinched their divisions. The Bengals, Ravens, and Chargers have also clinched a spot in the playoffs. We'll figure out where they go. Chargers a wild card team. The Bengals or the Ravens, so one of them will be wild card. One of them will win the division. And then, of course, you have to look at that final playoff spot. There's one seed left. Really, it's the 7 seed. Will it be Miami? Will it be New England? Will it be the Jets? Will it be the Steelers? Will it be some random team? It really depends on how this week plays out. And then, because, with the AFC South, I know that isn't up there and that's still open, but it's between the Titans and the Chargers. So really in the AFC, there's one spot and it's that last wild card. So let's see let's look at the actual playoff scenarios here. So, it looks like the only team that could possibly steal this, spot, it has to be the Dolphins this week. Let's look at Buffalo real quick. They can clinch a home field advantage in AFC's lone first. So that basically the Bills can clinch the first seed and they can also clinch the first round bye. They have to win and the Chiefs have to lose. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. Buffalo has to beat Cincinnati and the Chiefs have to lose to the, who are they playing? I forgot for like a split second. Oh yeah, the Broncos, right? Where are they? Yeah, Broncos. Yep. Okay. So, yeah, very unlikely situation here for Buffalo fans. You may not be able to clinch tonight, or well, on Monday evening anyway, is what you're hoping. But hey, maybe some craziness happens and Denver upsets the Chiefs, but I highly doubt it. All right, let's see. Cincinnati can clinch the NFC North, so basically a division title is on the line for the Bengals this weekend. They play the Buffalo Bills on Monday, so that's a big game with a lot on the line for either team. That's going to be a mega game with a lot of playoff atmosphere, a playoff vibe to it. It'll basically feel like a playoff game between Buffalo and Cincinnati with all that is on the line, because if the Bengals do beat the Bills, suddenly the Bengals, I think, sit at the 1 seed. So you have to think about that would be heading into week 18, because the Bengals would have then beat the Bills and the Chiefs. They'd be sitting, I think, with the best record in the NFC or in the AFC based on like wins over teams, because the Chiefs, go to Kansas City, okay, because they only have 3 losses. So, this is a very interesting situation. So KC would actually take the 1 seed if Buffalo were to lose to the Bengals. And if Baltimore loses or ties, Cincinnati wins the division. Or if Cincinnati ties and Baltimore loses, Cincinnati would win the division. So a lot on the line for both teams. The Ravens are taking on the Steelers, and if they don't have Lamar Jackson, that kind of complicates things, but who knows how that'll go without Lamar. All right. The final playoff seeding on the line, if you don't really count the Titans and the Jaguars, because one of those two are going to be in the playoffs, right? So all right, Miami takes on the New England Patriots. That'll be, pretty high stakes game. All right, so Miami can clinch a playoff berth with a win and a Jets loss or tie. So basically, if they win and the Jets lose to the Seahawks or tie the Seahawks, they're in the playoffs. All they got to do is beat the Patriots, or the Jets lose, or they got to tie with the Patriots. The Jets have to lose, and Pittsburgh has to lose or tie, because again, Pittsburgh's at 7-8. All of a sudden, they're creeping up there in the back end of the standings. And again, if the Patriots were to win this game, suddenly New England's back into the playoff picture, and I think they would actually take the 7th seed if they were to win this game at 8-8, and everybody's 8-8. Like the Patriots hold that tiebreaker. It's a whole complicated mess in the AFC, but it's not as complicated as what we're about to witness when we go down to the NFC. So basically, Miami can clinch with a win and a Jets loss. The Bengals can win their division with a win and a Baltimore loss. And the Bills can win the AFC 1 seed in first round bye with a win and a KC loss. AFC, a lot cleaner. Now let's go look at this NFC, which seems to be a total, there's a lot of chaos going on in the NFC comparatively. A lot of on-site ads too, but from the NFL.com. Sheesh. All right. Clinched. We have just 4 teams. 4 teams have clinched a spot, so you still have a few things open. You have the Eagles that have a playoff berth. Vikings have their division. San Francisco's got their division, and then the Cowboys have clinched. So essentially, you still have the NFC South, which will be one of the 4 teams. They're all pretty much still alive except Atlanta. And then, of course, you have the NFC East, which is already between Dallas and Philly. And then so we have the South and the East. So yeah, we have the other North and West already won. So. We have what? Don't include the South. 2 playoff spots left in the NFC? Yeah, 2 playoff spots total left in the NFC if you don't include the NFC South. So, a lot to be played for. The Eagles can clinch the division title with the following situation. If they win or if Dallas loses or ties. So, basically for Philly, it's a win and the division's yours. Also, if they win the number 1 seed. So this is kind of one of them things where if you win 2 things, the 1 seed and the division. Big win for Philadelphia. Can they beat the New Orleans Saints? I think they can, even with Gardner Minshew, but I mean, it should be a pretty fun, competitive game. But the game, I think, is in Philadelphia, so that kind of takes away the Eagles or the Saints' like weird home powers that they have. Yeah, it's in Philadelphia, so. Or they can win the division if the Dallas Cowboys were to lose their game against the Titans tonight. Yeah, they play on Thursday Night Football, so it'd be the Titans, which is, they could probably win that one. So, or Philadelphia can clinch the home field, or if they, we know they can get the 1 seed with the win tonight, or not tonight on Sunday, or if Philly ties, Minnesota loses or ties, so that could also get them the 1 seed, or if Dallas loses or ties, Minnesota loses or ties, or Minnesota loses and San Francisco loses or ties. So essentially, Philly could lose this game to the Saints, and if Dallas loses or ties, Minnesota loses, or the 49ers lose, they could essentially still get the 1 seed without a win or a tie. Tampa Bay is actually in clinch mode now. Tampa Bay Buccaneers have one scenario here. If they win the NFC South. That's basically it. They play Carolina. This has been one of their Achilles heels, I guess, this year, is just getting a second win in a row. They're 7-8, looking like the New England Patriots record-wise, and can they pull it off? I don't know. They've been pretty inconsistent, but hey, if they can stop the run, they can probably win the game. So that's going to be a tough one. Maybe Tampa punches their tickets to the playoffs, right? Oh, the Giants and Commanders can clinch a playoff spot and end the playoff hopes of the Lions, Packers, and Seahawks fans simultaneously this weekend with a slew of very crazy situations. We'll cover the Washington because it's like one big scenario, and it's a lot easier to cover. So the Commanders can clinch a playoff berth with, they got to win. Seattle has to lose, Detroit has to lose, and Green Bay has to lose or tie. So Seattle would have to lose to the Jets, Detroit has to lose to the Bears, and Green Bay has to lose or tie to the Vikings for Washington to clinch a playoff spot this weekend and to pretty much just crush the hopes of those fan bases. Which is, I mean, hey, I listed all 3 of them. It's like, geez. And then for the Giants, of course, we have 7 scenarios in which the Giants can clinch a playoff berth this weekend. So it's very likely the Giants wind up clinching. And then in week 18, we have like a 5-team race for the 7 seed in the NFC, much like we're probably going to have in week 18 in the AFC, which is going to be like 4 or 5-team race for that final seed. Let's see, the Giants, with a win, they're in. Basically, they control their own destiny. Hey, if you guys can go ahead and beat the Colts, boom, playoffs, you guys are in. The most unlikely playoff team, they're in. Or they have a few tie scenarios. If they tie, Seattle loses or ties, Washington loses or ties, they're in. If they tie, Seattle loses or ties, Detroit loses or ties, they're in. If they tie, Washington loses or ties, Detroit loses or ties, Green Bay loses or ties, they're in. Or if Seattle and Washington lose, they're in. So that's a pretty good shot there with Seattle having to play the Jets and Washington playing the Browns. That could actually, if both those things happen and Seattle loses and Washington loses, they're in. If Seattle, Detroit, and Green Bay loses or ties, then they're in. If Washington, Detroit, and Green Bay loses, they're in. So there's a few scenarios in which them losing still could wind up resulting in them getting in the playoffs because there is a world in which it doesn't really matter. That tie is really helping the Giants out this year. So yeah, I think that's about that for this week. So like I said, there's about one actual playoff spot left in the AFC. If the Dolphins clinch this weekend, that's it. The only spot left is the AFC South, and that's going to be decided week 18 probably. And then of course, in the NFC, we really just have the what, 2 playoff spots left? Yeah, 2 playoff spots, and the Giants and Commanders could lock those both down this weekend. But hey, that's what's fun about this time of year. It's always exciting. It's fun. The playoffs are right around the corner. We don't know who's all in, who's all out, who's going to have a shock run here at the end. Who's to say? I don't know. Week 18, we could have like 5 to 10 different teams we have to cover. It could be like, because if you go look at the standings really quick, that's the craziest thing. If you go look at the standings and you hit playoff picture and you go look at this, for these 7 seeds, look at this. Okay, here's the 7 is these guys. And then there's 7 and 8, 7 and 8, 7 and 8. So if the Dolphins lose, there's suddenly Steelers, Titans, Jets, and Patriots all in play for that seed. And then in the NFC, if all these people were to win again, you have the Packers, Lions, Seahawks, Commanders, all fighting for that last seed. That's a pretty wild situation to all look at and think about. So anyway, thank you guys so much for listening. If you made it all the way through, I appreciate you very much. Hopefully you have a good rest of your day, night, morning, mid-afternoon, midday, that time between 5 and 6 a.m. Or still kind of night, not really morning yet. Whenever you decide to listen, I don't know. Anyway, hopefully you have a good one. Thank you. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Leave your thoughts down below, all that YouTube stuff and mumbo jumbo, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Go Lions, go Tigers, and of course, it's always go Patriots. Week 17, playoff scenarios, down the drain and finished. All right, bye-bye. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.